Hello friends, and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to show you how to sew bind your own notebook inserts. But you must be wondering, why do I make my own inserts? Why not just buy from one of the sellers out there? But what it comes down to me really is that I'm fussy and I'm picky and I don't want to be that customer. So I make them myself, so if I don't like them, I've only got myself to blame. So this particular paper is 100 GSM copy paper. You can use whatever paper you like. I wouldn't suggest using anything under 100 GSM, especially if you like using felt liners or fountain pens. I also wouldn't use anything thicker than about 120 GSM, because then your inserts start getting very thick and bulky. So 100 or 120 would be my preference. I've been asked to make this video because whether some people find it confusing or whether you feel you need a whole bunch of fancy equipment to do this, you really don't, and I'm here to show you how to make this wonderful, neat, beautiful looking sewn insert. Let's get started. So things that you're going to need is some printed paper or plain paper. I have printed some dot grid on A5. You can find dot grid and square graph and even lined paper generators online, and you can make them custom. So I've done this one at 3 dots per centimeter because that is sort of the size that I like. I've got quite a few here. I probably won't use them all in one booklet, but do print them double side. If you don't have the capability to print at home, make a PDF file and take it into your local printers or Officeworks. The next thing you're going to need is something to poke a hole with. Now I got this particular awl from Eckersley's, it was under $4. Or you can use a kitchen metal skewer as long as the point is nice and sharp and the shaft is not too thick or square. The little round ones work best. I think this is actually a cake tester or skewer, because it's kind of short to be a full skewer. So that works for that. Or an awl, as I said, I got this one from Eckersley's for under $4. Then you're going to need something to bind your book with. I happened to get some waxed linen, waxed coloured linen, I think it is, at a specialty paper / book binding place, and this stuff's really great. It's very, very strong, and the waxing means that the knot will hold quite securely. If you are unable to get your hand on this, I think this was about $3 or $4 for 10 meters, so there's quite a lot on there. You can use just any crochet cotton. This one is a size 10. 10 or 20 works best. Any thicker and it's too thick, any finer and you will cut your paper. So a 10 or a 20 works really well. It doesn't have to be mercerized, which is what makes it shiny, because it's quite strong anyway. And last but not least, you'll need some kind of needle. This one is a tapestry needle, so the end isn't too pokey, so you won't accidentally make another hole in your page. You can also use wool needles, just anything with a big enough eye that will get through your chosen thread. So I am actually going to sacrifice a sheet so that I can get my markings. First I'm going to fold it in half. Now if you have a scorer, you might want to score it. If you don't, no big deal. But I'm going to fold it in half that way. Then I'm going to fold it in half the other way, and then I'm going to fold these back half again. What this is going to give me is 3 points where 3 points equidistant from each other, which will give me the right places to pierce my page. Now, if you're making a standard size traveler's notebook insert, you might want to consider having 5 holes instead of 3. It does need to be an odd number because this center hole is sort of where everything starts and finishes. So now I've got my places marked. I'm just going to poke them with a hole just so they're done, so they're easier to see once all together. Like that. Then I'm going to decide how many pages I want in my booklet, and I'm going to fold. Now it really depends on if this is a notebook or if you're going to use this for bullet journaling, or if you've even printed out a specific style of planner insert that you're going to make into a book. It's all the same. Just don't make them too thick, otherwise they'll sit funny in your notebook, and don't make them too thin, otherwise there's not really much point to having them in there in the first place. Okay, so the thickness of this book is 16 A5 sheets, which gives me 32 pages, which gives me 64 individual sides. That's my ideal size personally for a notebook. I can either do a week to a view spread, I can do individual days for 2 months, or it's just a notebook where I write lots of silly note and ideas. So the next part is probably the fiddliest, which is poking holes through the whole thing. I don't suggest you do it in one go because that's thick. What I do suggest is you break it up into a few pages at a time. And because you've got your template, now if you wanted to, you could use bulldog clips or paper clips or whatever. I'm actually going to use the cake tester for the first one. And it really is, because once you've got that first one through, just make sure you don't poke yourself. Just poking where you've put the other holes. And trying not to put a hole in yourself. Okay, so that was with the cake tester, which isn't too hard, but it doesn't have a lot of grip. It was one of the reasons I actually went and bought a proper awl from Eckersley's. But as you can see, that's done three holes nice and evenly. So I'm just going to do that a couple more times and I'll see you on the other side. Just a little note I thought I'd add just doing this last one. What I actually do is I actually twist my awl when I take it through, because I don't want to spend my brute, don't want to just try and stab it, because that's really not going to work very well for you or the people around you. But if I twist it, it just sort of makes its way through without a heck of a lot of effort. And there's the last one. So putting all of these back together, I should have three very easy to get into holes that are nice and lined up. Looks good. Okay, and now it comes time to sew it all together. I'm going to use this waxed linen because you won't be able to see my white crochet thread against the booklet with all the lights. But it doesn't matter, the technique's the same no matter what you use. So first you need to just thread your needle. Now with this stuff being waxed, I like to give it a little twist just so it doesn't come undone. And once your book is together, you're going to go to the outside of it and you're going to start in the center hole, going from outside to inside. Going outside to inside is always slightly more difficult than going the other way. And pull gently and carefully, you don't want to rip your paper. And turning over, you're going to pick one of it doesn't matter which way, you're going to pick one of these and go through. I'm just going to go to my right and go from inside to outside. Gently. Now you'll notice I haven't cut from my source yet because I don't want to cut just yet, because I like to conserve as much thread as I can, but I'm going to pull it gently through, very gently. Then on the outside again, I'm going to skip the center one and go straight to the top, outside to inside, and then turning back over, I'm going to go back in through this center one. So on the inside, that is all you see. So the center of your notebook is very neat and very pretty. The outside doesn't look too bad either. Now, there's a misconception that your notebook needs to be sewn all the way to the edge. Like you see some of the commercial machine sewn ones, they're sewn from end to end. That is purely because that is easier to do. You don't need any more than this to keep your notebook secure. If you have a standard size or an A5 size, you might choose to do 5 instead of 3, and I'll show you the stitch pattern for that in a little bit, but you still only need the 3. So on the outside, what I've got is I've got one long piece and my 2 ends. Now I don't want to waste quite this much of my linen. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to very, very gently tease it back down until I've got what I'm happy with tying a knot with, which is about that. And then just tease it backwards so that I can conserve as much of my string as possible. Now the other thing you don't want to do is you don't want to pull it too tight because you will rip your paper. So it just needs to be secure. It doesn't have to be super tight. Then I'm going to tie my knot. I usually do a square knot, left over right, right over left, also known as a reef knot, depending on where in the world you are. And then I just grab some scissors. With the waxed one, you can cut a lot closer because the wax is going to keep it in place. I'm just going to snip those ends off. And that is a perfectly bound notebook. Okay, so the pattern is a little different, but not hugely so, and it gives you beautiful results as well. So starting from the outside, I'm going into the middle section, turning over, I'm going into the next one across, turning over, coming back through the end one on the same side, going back through that one next to the center. So as you can see, I've now got 2 lovely lines there. Turning it over, I'm skipping the center one and going directly across. Oops. To the other side. Repeating the same pattern on this side, going out there. In there. And then coming back up through the center. So on the inside I have 4 lovely lines. On the outside, once I've got this tied off, I've got a very similar situation to on the outside of the 3-hole with just the 2 extra loops on the end. So that's your 5-hole stringing technique for sewing your own notebook. Now you'll notice that I haven't put a cover on mine. You can absolutely add another layer to this, be it cardboard or scrapbook paper or even just a plain flyleaf. I like my inserts naked. I use my dashboards to create covers. This is my A6 Crazy Organized Artori personal custom number, which I love. And this is one of my dashboards that I made. See the other video for how to do that. And I'm just going to slip that in there. And it doesn't need an extra cover because my dashboard creates one. So that's just my notebook. One of the reasons I like naked inserts is it takes up just that little bit less room so you could have, you know, more inserts. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I certainly enjoyed making it for you. Please don't forget to comment, like and subscribe to my channel. Click that little bell for notifications of when new videos go up. And don't forget to check me out on my other social media platforms. To hop over and visit my Etsy store. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!